Hey, folks, we got the proof. Not that we needed it. We got the proof that the U.S. arms that are being shipped to Ukraine are ending up in the hands of fucking terrorists around the world. And Congress does not want you to see this. They do not want you to know this. They do not want you to talk about this. No, they don't. I'm going to show you the video in a second that, is just more proof. It's not that you needed proof, It's one of those things and you're like, I kind of knew this shit was fucked. But it's good to see it. It's good to add it on top. I'm going to cover that story. I'm going to cover The Guardian fucking trashing independent journalists who do amazing work. But then said independent journalists fucking got them back and called that Guardian journalist out of the blue. Anyway, I'm going to play that clip. I also have an awesome protest by Extinction Rebellion shattering windows of banks. I got all kinds of shit for you on today's show. It just doesn't end, okay? Every time you're like, oh my God, he couldn't possibly have more awesome shit, then you're going to see more awesome shit. And I know right now you're thinking, Lee sounds kind of like a fucking used car salesman. Yeah, that's because I was kidding. I wasn't kidding about having that shit. I actually have all that stuff. I'm just saying I was the voice, the tone was joking. Okay. And for those of you that don't understand my sense of humor and you're like, I love the comments where the people are like, this guy's drunk. I just find it funny to act like this. All right. It's just who I am. And so if you can't handle that, you don't understand my sense of humor, if my sense of humor isn't your thing, then all I'm asking is email me at it's leecamp at gofuckyourself.com. It's one of my favorite sites, and I think you should check it out. For those of you who do get it and appreciate it, then hang in there and don't email me at that website I just listed. But if you don't get it and you hate me and it upsets you, then in case you need that email again, it'll be streaming across the bottom of the screen. Just email and let me know your complaints. Let me know detailed, point by point, what it is you don't like at gofuckyourself.com. Anyway, well, I came in hot on this one. I came in pretty hot. Came in blazing. Sorry to be so rude. God, I'm so rude. You ever just had a day where you're like, I'm fine with being rude. I'm fine. Whatever that little veneer of like, well, let's just be polite to each other, and we might find somebody annoying, but just don't, just slowly back away. Don't make it a thing. And that veneer just fucking drops. You just had the day, and the person walks up, and they're like, and here's the thing: no matter what language you speak, that's always the same. And that guy walks up, and rather than slowly backing away, you're just like, hey, why don't you back the fuck up? You don't. Basically, you turn into somebody who has some level of emotional misunderstanding. But it's not that you have emotional misunderstanding. You just don't care. You don't care because you've had that day. Well, that's where I am today. Maybe that's where I always am to some degree, but that's where I definitely am today. Anyway, let's get into all this. I don't know why the laptop is more wobbly today than normal. This is the shit I deal with. This is the thing, an independent media journalist or whatever the fuck I am is legit when they got a wobbly laptop, so the camera wobbles every once in a while. If you're listening to this on the Moment of Clarity podcast, then you aren't seeing the wobble, and you're like, I don't know what he's talking about. But whatever, just imagine some wobble. All right, well, before in order to explain why it matters that these arms are ending up in the hands of terrorists and why it's so upsetting, I want to show you this article just to start things out. In case you were wondering the exact number, this is from a few days ago. The U.S. sent our 15th military package to Ukraine, 15th, bringing total aid in Russia in the Russian war, bringing total aid to Ukraine to the partial Nazis, not all Nazis. It's a quasi Nazi. It's a semi so Nazi. To $7 billion. We have sent $7 billion fucking dollars over to Ukraine. That's just since the Russian invasion started. And in case I always need to say it, I'm opposed to the Russian invasion, but I also believe that we're fucking adults, so we can talk about how the U.S. created this proxy war and helped create it, and NATO is helping create it, and all those things. We can have all of that in our brain at the same time, because I think adulting is a good idea in this. When it comes to matters of nuclear Armageddon, I'm a fan of adulting. Call me nuts. So, 15th package to Ukraine, bringing the quote-unquote aid. Would you notice when we send missiles and bombs and fucking things that kill to people, it's called aid. That's called aid, okay? When the U.S. does it. When other countries do it, it's called terrorist activity. It's called fucking murdering people. But when the U.S. does it, it's called aid. Like lemonade, okay? That's what we're doing when we send missiles and bombs and weapons of death to fucking Nazis. It's aid like lemonade, okay? Just remember that. This is from, by the way, it's from it's CNBC or NBC article. This is no indie quiet blog independent blog site. This is fucking NBC. Biden is set to announce a new security assistance package worth $400 million to Ukraine, bringing the total of the 15th installment to $7 billion fucking dollars. And they don't use the term fucking, but they should use the term fucking. It should be fucking dollars. Anytime you say billion, the following word should be fucking, and then you throw in the dollars. That's what's been sent to Ukraine. And as I'm about to show, so that's the part you get from the mainstream media, right? Mainstream media will show you that. And this goes in for other countries as well. This is not just the U.S. This is because I've been checking out the media in some of these other countries. This goes UK, Sweden, fucking Finland, which are the two joining NATO, fucking France, Germany, all their mainstream media. They all say the same stuff, right? They'll tell you that this aid, quote unquote, is being sent. But here's the part they won't tell you, that our Congress really doesn't want you to know, that doesn't get talked about. So where am I getting this from? This is from Kim.com. I mentioned Kim.com the other day. He is an internet entrepreneur, became quite famous in the early 2000s or mid 2000s for creating a site where you could share movies and things. Then the U.S. and New Zealand, he's in New Zealand, governments went after him hardcore and, largely destroyed his life. And one of his friends who was involved in it, who was one of their main partners, recently kind of killed himself. He killed himself in the procrastinator's way, which was an intense alcoholism, because his life had been destroyed. When he came to visit New Zealand, was never allowed to leave again, lost his marriage, and, probably didn't see his kids and everything else. And so they killed someone through alcoholism, which is something the system does when it wants to crush somebody. And, I'm not saying none of that's, on him a little bit, but as with those who kill themselves when they're when the system comes down on their heads, can you really put it on them? Like, it's like, I don't believe anyone fucking killed Jim Morrison, but they certainly helped destroy his life. But anyway, same idea. Here's the tweet from, but it has a video attached to it. This is the tweet from Kim.com. Javelin is one of the main missiles that we send over to Ukraine, to their military, which is partially Nazi. And the thing about it being partially Nazi, so let's say it could be somewhere between 5 and 10% literal Nazis in the Ukrainian military. Well, that's not that much. But the problem is they're the most violent. So they end up having the most power because they're willing to literally kill politicians who go against them. So in that way, they could be only 10% of the military. They end up being a very powerful contingent, which is why you end up with Zelensky appearing before Greek parliament with a Nazi standing next to him. That's what and I wasn't doing who was it? It was a comedian who said this, that there's the Nazis have the two, maybe it was Dennis Miller. I don't know. The Nazis have the two, the Sig Heils. They have the hardcore Sig Heil. And then they had the kind of back casual Sig Heil, where you just flap the hand back. And I wasn't doing that. I was saying, like, standing next to him, Zelensky had a, like, literal Azov battalion Nazi in front of the Greek parliament. But anyway, so here's from Kim.com. He says, Javelin, N-Law, and AT-4 launchers are for sale by Ukrainian arms dealers. Ukrainian generals and soldiers are underpaid, which, I mean, how much do you have to fucking be paid to go, essentially walk into a firing squad in the middle of a war? But anyway, I don't know what the appropriate going rate is for that. I feel like we should have gotten better dental if we were gonna, guys, when we were deciding to walk straight into that Russian military firing squad, I felt like we should have paused there and said, I want fucking dental, okay? Well, I feel like we should have stopped before we tried to take on the entire Russian military, and we should have said, listen, guys, I want dermatology appointments covered. Everyone. And not just like, oh my God, I have a crazy rash appointments. I mean, like, this mole looks a little odd appointments. That should be covered. If I'm gonna go running into the Russian firing squad over there, I want to know that I don't have a melanoma that I'm questioning. Because, that just brings doubt into your mind if you just have that. Because this one's kind of lopsided. I don't know if you saw this one on my shoulder. Guys, where's everybody going? Guys, come back here. Listen, I'm serious here. If we band together, we could get things like this mole that looks like the one on Gorbachev's head that he had. Or has. I don't know. Is he still around? Can't imagine he is with that kind of mole. Anyway, I'm just saying, same shape. I don't know if it's some kind of conspiracy, but this thing is on my shoulder, and I think that should be covered. We should be paid better, and we should get dermatology appointments. That's all I'm saying, guys. Guys, why are you facing the other direction now? So anyway, I don't know what the going rate is. But here's Kim.com talking about it. He says, Ukrainian generals and soldiers are underpaid and sell U.S. and U.K. weapons on the black market. Every wannabe terrorist can now destroy civilian aircraft and kill hundreds for just $20,000. I mean, imagine how small amount of money that is in order to afford to buy something that can kill hundreds, if not thousands. So here we go. Here's the video of one of these arms deals going down. The audio doesn't matter much because I can't imagine many of you speak Russian or Ukrainian or whatever it is they're speaking. For those of you listening to the podcast, literally a guy just opened the back of his fucking Subaru Explorer. I don't even know if that's an actual car. I'm not a car guy. I don't know what's what, but he just opened the trunk of his SUV, pulled away a sheet, and literally has missile launchers just like fucking sitting in the back of his trunk like you would, your Labrador retriever or some shit. Just pulls a tarp off. There it is. And this is a black market deal going down. And it like, this is what you aren't hearing from our Congress. They're not going to tell you this shit is going down. They're not going to tell you that literally we send this stuff into this war, and some of it gets a lot of it immediately gets just blown up by the Russian military. So a lot of that, fucking billions that we send over there is blown up immediately, or sometimes it's captured by the Russian military, in which case you have these arms that we've sent there in the hands of the quote unquote enemy. So again, this is all wasted money. And then you have stuff like this, where these Ukrainian generals, Ukrainian military, grab up this stuff and sell it for an amount of money that it's got to be, it's got to change their lives. If they can get $20,000 for something like this, it can change their life. And of course, many of them are going to do it. Why wouldn't they? So this is what you aren't hearing from our Congress, from our military, from our so-called leaders, from our ruling class. As we send, I saw a tweet the other day that said your student loan forgiveness. Remember, Biden was promising some level of student loan forgiveness, and we've seen essentially zero. And it said your student loan forgiveness has been sent to Ukrainian Nazis in the form of missiles. We were going to forgive the loan you took out in order to fucking go to school. We were going to help you, Americans, United Statesians. I know some people don't like the term Americans. We were going to help you actually be able to live a life where you aren't fucking crumpling under debt, knees giving out under debt. We were going to do that. We were just about to do that, man. We were so close. But then Russia did exactly what we hoped they were going to do and fucking invaded Ukraine. And so we had to take all that money and ship it to Nazis in the form of Javelin missiles. So we're sorry about that. We were so close to forgiving your debt, but oh God, sorry about that, guys. Oh man, we wish we didn't have to do that. But I mean, the other thing is like, what's the number one argument for like most of our insane military action around the world? The bullshit surface level, I don't understand anything about the world argument. That shit you hear from the fucking people that are either like Trump or Biden, those assholes. Like, what is their number one argument for the reason the U.S. has invaded so many countries or destroyed so many countries over the past 20 years? You hear, gotta stop the terrorists. That's what we are headed over there to stop the terrorists. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're headed in there. We got to fight them over there so we don't fight them over here. That's what we're told, right? Well, here are our fucking missiles and shit and grenade launchers and whatever else ending up in the hands of terrorists. Just sold on the black market. Here you go. 20 grand, no problem. By the way, 20 grand for a large scale terrorist organization. Which, what's the largest scale terrorist organization? Oh, the U.S. military. But, 20 grand is nothing. It's nothing. Dude, why? You know what? I actually, the reason I started this video today was I wanted to tell you folks, I think you should invest in some Javelin missiles. You should, anyone out there has got, 20K in savings, just collect a couple of those, and then you can sell them later. I'm sure the price will go up. It's a great investment. Anyway, so this is what's actually going on, like we get all this surface level bullshit media, and this is the reality on the ground is stuff like this. While Americans are told that they can't do anything for our society, that they can't help people, that they can't fix the infrastructure, that they can't, we can't, Social Security just, we got to gut that. That's, what choice do we have? We can't help the schools. We can't help the elderly. We can't help the homeless. We can't help those facing eviction. I'm sorry. We just can't. We just own the money. And then meanwhile, this is where that money goes. It goes to shit like this. So anyway, I hope you take that into calculation and consideration, and maybe when you talk to some people who don't get it, maybe show them the reality of this situation. So moving on, speaking of the lies we're told about these wars, let's go to the lies we've been told over these past several years about Syria. And just the other day, one of the independent journalists who's been maligned and trashed and attacked for revealing the truth on the ground about Syria, he got his kind of got his revenge. And I have video of this as well that he posted. So basically, I'll give a quick rundown. I hope most of you have a bit of a feeling about this, knew a little something about this. But Aaron Mate, who does great work for the Gray Zone, I know Aaron Mate does awesome work, and he is one of the main journalists, independent journalists, independently funded, that has revealed the truth on the ground about Syria. I don't mean he's, for the most part, he's not there, but I mean, he's revealing the reality on the ground, and going with people who have been on the ground there, but has revealed the truth about the bullshit chemical weapons attacks, and the truth about the white helmets and how ridiculous they are. And I mean, they're basically a Western psyop, photo op. I mean, they're literally like they have placed together photos of white helmets saving a kid, where they hold a kid up and they go, look, and it's like a mannequin with like a fucking toddler's jacket on, and they hold up like a little, we're saving a kid. And meanwhile, they have placed like literally the same dude that's pretending to be a white helmet. They have video of him being part of like ISIS or part of al-Nusra, one of these terrorist groups that literally beheads people in the streets. And anyway, White Helmets was created by a former MI6 guy, which is, for those who don't know, basically the UK's CIA. So, anyway, I'm not going to get into all the details. You can go read them if you like. But The Guardian and mainstream media is still trying to delegitimize the journalism that's been done by Aaron Mate. And I've spent the past several years using Aaron Mate's reporting and other reporting by people like Seymour Hersh, Robert Fisk, these amazing journalists, showing that the chemical attacks were bullshit. If there was a chemical attack, it was done literally by the rebels in order to get the U.S. involved more, by the quote-unquote moderate rebels, which is our term for like Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, that we fund and arm in Syria. And by the way, if you want to go back, I talk about the different layers of reality. If you want to go back even further, why does the U.S. want to be involved in Syria? I mean, there are other. Assad might be an asshole, might be a dictator. I don't know. Maybe he is a dictator, but why does the U.S. Want to be involved in Syria when we give aid to 70% of the dictatorships around the world? Because Syria is outside our central banking arm. Syria has dropped the petrodollar. So that is the real reason we go after Syria. Anyway, I don't want to go too far back, otherwise we'll spend the next 4 hours on it. But chemical weapon attacks they've been proven to be bullshit. Also, all you got to do is look at the timing. Trump said, and Trump, I always like to reiterate in case someone thinks I'm a Trump fan, fucking racist, fascist asshole. Trump is the worst. But he did say he was going to take the troops out of Syria, or U.S. troops, and stop being involved in Syria. 9 days after he said that, and he told the Pentagon to begin withdrawing from Syria, don't bomb Syria, pull the troops out of Syria. 9 days, there was a chemical weapons attack, and everything turned around. The Pentagon all of a sudden shifted back into Syria. Trump goes, oh my God, there's a chemical attack, because Trump's a fucking moron. And he goes, oh my God, well, we got to bomb Syria. So then he starts bombing Syria. Anyway, Aaron Mate has been crucial in all of that understanding. So here is The Guardian, which is now just a full mainstream media garbage outlet. They didn't used to be. You go back to 2015 before they were captured. They actually did some legit shit. So, but here they are. Now, this is the reason this article is 1 month old is because I'm giving you the update. This is 1 month ago. They did an attack piece totally maligning and trashing Aaron Mate and a few others. But, Aaron Mate was one of the most important ones. Network of Syria conspiracy theorists identified. This article is about how we've finally gotten to the bottom of the Syria conspiracy theorists. Campaign disseminating disinformation sent thousands of tweets, often targeting the white helmets. Oh my goodness. Oh dear God. A network of more than 24 conspiracy theorists frequently backed. And by the way, coming up, as I mentioned, is Aaron Mate literally calling the journalist who wrote this. I'll get to that in a second. A network of more than 24 conspiracy theorists frequently backed by a coordinated Russian campaign. That's the other thing they did. Is they didn't just say that Aaron Mate is full of shit. They also linked him to Russia when he has no connection to Russia. None. Not funded by, not working with, not living there. He's an American. There's no connection to Russia. And they're like, often Russian-backed campaign sent thousands of disinformation tweets, which when you hear disinformation tweets from mainstream media, you should know that generally means information tweets. Honestly, I'd say 50% of the time they say, because some of the time they say different disinformation tweets and they're talking about, Trump supporters and their QAnon garbage. So half the time they legitimately mean garbage coming out of idiot people who've been lobotomized by Instagram vapid culture. But honestly, I know I got to get more into Instagram because that's where everybody watches everything. I got fucking, but literally, it's like I saw something the other day where someone said the key to doing well on Instagram is every 2 to 3 seconds has to justify the next 2 to 3 seconds. That's not a video. That's a seizure. You can't, in order to get to the center of any issue, it can't be 2 to 3 seconds. I'm just supposed to hold up a kitten every 2 to 3 seconds. While I'm talking about, hey folks, so I want to talk about the funding that has been sent to the Azov battalion. Kitten. Azov battalion in Ukraine. I also want to talk a hamster. I also want to talk about the fact that our unfettered capitalist system is an economic system that requires fair wearing a bow tie. How can that? You can't. It's impossible. There is nothing other than literal acrobats. Literally, if your job is fucking spinning plates while you're hanging from a ceiling fan, there is nothing that can amuse people every 2 to 3 seconds if you want to have any real information. So, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but people have been lobotomized by that, and that. So some of the times the mainstream media says disinformation, they're referring to actual disinformation. But I'd say 50%. I'm going to up that to 70% of the time they say disinformation. Just take out the word dis, and it's information because it's stuff the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. That's what it is. And if the mainstream media, which is our U.S. state-funded media, because it's some of the time they're state funded, some of the time they're funded by the corporate state, which corporations own our state. So it is, if they're funded by large corporations, then they're state media in the US. I know it's complicated. Most people don't get it, but CNN is state media. Who is CNN funded by? They're funded by our weapons contractors. Who funds our government? Our weapons contractors and oil companies, et cetera, big pharma, et cetera. So if that's who funds our government, and that's who funds CNN, and that's who funds Fox News, they are state funded media. They added a middleman. Rather than taking out a middleman, they added a middleman so that they could claim to not be state funded. Anyway, let's keep going from the article from a month ago. A network of more than 24 conspiracy theorists, frequently backed by Russian campaign, sent thousands of disinformation tweets to distort the reality of the Syrian conflict and deter intervention by the international community. New analysis reveals. Literally, they're upset that this group of independent journalists was trying to just deter Western-backed bombs. That's what you should hear from that paragraph. Data gathered by the Institute of Strategic Dialogue, and anytime you see something called like the Institute of Strategic Dialogue, just know it's garbage, okay? If they have a name like that, if they're named the Institute of Strategic Dialogue or the Strategery of Institutionary Discussion or the Foreign Policy Distribution of Institutionary Committee of Information, anything where you fall asleep halfway through 3 words, then it is Western-backed garbage. That is how they work. That is why they fucking name it that. They name it that so that you fall asleep. They are the anti-Instagram. They want you to fall asleep because they don't want you to ask what they are. That is why they name themselves the Institute of Strategic Dialogue. Oh my God, have you heard a more boring name in your life? Although the initials are ISD, which does sound like an STD, so I will give them that. They're basically a mental STD. They're called because they're an ISD, which is an intellectual sexual disease. So they identified a network, and also, isn't it classic mainstream media garbage, Guardian garbage, to not say anything about who these people are? They just go, data gathered by the Institute of Strategic Dialogue. We're not going to get into who that is. We're just going to let you accept them as a real institute. Identified a network of social media accounts, individuals, outlets, and organizations who disseminated disinformation about the conflict, with 1.8 million people following their every word. The 3 principal false, which of course even that is a lie, because no one follows their every word. So, like, even just on the surface, they're lying. No, you think everyone follows Aaron Mate's every word? Fucking no. The 3 principal false narratives promoted by the network of conspiracy theorists. Honestly, this whole thing should be read like it's a 1920s woman who's just seen a ghost. And I'm sorry to say woman, but it's the voice I'm about to do. You can tell it's just a woman's voice. It's not meant to say anything about women or anything about that. But it's like 1920s when you'd see in a movie like a ghost would walk in, and I don't know, were there talkies in the 1920s? Whatever, 1950s, I don't know when, but years ago, when a ghost would come in and the woman would go, woo, it was like an exaggeration of how women be. So that is how this whole article should be read. It's just 3 principal false narratives promoted by the network of conspiracy theorists involved misrepresenting the white helmets. No, they didn't misrepresent the white helmets. They revealed the actual truth of the white helmets. The volunteer organization working to evacuate people in Syria. That's all the white helmets is, really? Because I've seen photos that actually they are also, many of them, working with ISIS or al-Nusra or other al-Qaeda affiliates that we fund and arm. Back to the article. They also focused on the denial or distortion of facts about the Syria regime's use of chemical weapons, which they didn't fucking use, and on attacking the findings of the world's foremost chemical weapons watchdog. But he brought forward and helped reveal using 4 OPCW whistleblowers. So they're talking about the OPCW. The OPCW whistleblowers, 4 of them came forward and said that the OPCW had fucking covered up their actual findings. So what did Aaron Mate do? He revealed the legitimate findings of the OPCW, which they're claiming he altered or covered up or whatever. But so here's the part about Aaron Mate. There's also a group of British academics. Yeah, why do you think there's a group of British academics who helped reveal this because they're fucking legitimate and they're not sold out and they're not garbage pieces of shit. There's also a group of British academics accused of spreading pro-Syrian regime disinformation. And by the way, that's the other thing, is they say anything that reveals the truth that could that could reveal the truth of what is going on here, they call pro-Syrian or pro-Russian. So if you reveal the truth of what's happening, then you're pro-Syrian or pro-Russian. By the way, I see someone in the chat asking about the OPCW covered up their own findings. Yes, because the OPCW, the higher up, just a couple of them, did not want. So the OPCW is used to be the most legitimate international body on the use of chemical weapons. But when Syria happened, the Western pressure to agree with the false flag, with the bullshit that there had been chemical weapons used, the Western pressure was too much, and the top of the OPCW pushed out. Now there's 4 whistleblowers that have come forward, pushed them out, changed their report, and put forward the westernized report. So yes, the OPCW covered up the findings of their own officials. Anyway. And you can read, there's long, detailed articles at Gray Zone about this. I both can't memorize every detail, but also it would take us an hour to go through it all, which is not the point of this. The point of this is this article that went after Aaron Mate. So, since 2020, journalist Aaron Mate of the Gray Zone is said by the report to have overtaken Vanessa Beeley as the most prolific spreader of disinformation among the 28 conspiracy theorists identified. So since this article has come out that I just read, The Guardian has been forced to issue multiple alterations to the article, and they've been forced to add what I highlighted here on the screen, which is Mate rejects the claim. So, and they were forced by Aaron Mate and by other journalists who said, well, you guys aren't doing legit journalism. You didn't talk to Aaron Mate. You didn't get the truth behind this. And so The Guardian, trying to cover their tracks on their ridiculous disinformation article, has now been forced to add amendments to the article, which I'm not going to read some of them. But hold on, let me read the last line from this article. Quote, Syria was a testing ground for this type of disinformation activity, and the lessons learned from this case inform action on Ukraine and beyond, unquote, a former official at the U.S. Department of State told researchers. So the conclusion of this Guardian heap of horse shit is a quote by the U.S. State Department. Who would you expect to lie more on this topic than the U.S. State Department? Anyway, here are the footnotes that, well, maybe I should play. Let me play Aaron's phone call first. So Aaron, those footnotes were added after Aaron's phone call. So Aaron calls up the journalist from from Guardian without warning to him. And here is Aaron's call to that journalist. I'll play the first half because the second half is just him repeating the same questions, but you'll get the point.
Hey, Mark, it's Aaron Mate calling. How you doing?
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, good, thanks.
Good. Quick question for you. Why didn't you contact me before publishing in The Guardian that I'm the leading purveyor of disinformation on Syria?
That was in a report we were reporting on. I think you got an email anyway, regarding if you wanted to talk about it.
No, I didn't get an email.
You can do that.
Well, I did send an email and I got your auto reply, so I'm calling you now. And also, can you tell me why you also, so can you also tell me why you didn't identify a single piece of disinformation that I've spread?
I think you got a response from our readers editor, so if you want to add something to the piece, then go for it.
I did not actually get a response. No, I didn't.
Well, you'll get one soon.
So will you not explain, Mark, why you didn't contact me and why you didn't name a single piece of disinformation that I've allegedly spread? I mean, it's pretty simple. Can you explain that for me? Well, but why didn't you do it when you wrote the article?
It'll be articulated to you in the email you receive.
Can I ask you why you didn't articulate when you wrote the article? Just why not? You yourself have complained. You yourself have complained that the Home Office didn't contact you before they tweeted about one of your articles. So I'm asking you, why didn't you contact me before writing such a consequential claim about me? It's pretty simple. Why not?
As I said, you're getting an email.
Do you think it's fair journalism?
You should have got it already.
No, well, I haven't gotten it. It's been over a week. So I'm calling you now.
You should be writing very short.
So Mark, let me ask you, can you name me right now? Can you, Mark?
Okay. So it just kind of repeats itself over and over. So there's another minute there, but I love that the guy goes, you should have gotten an email. I mean, this is how you know someone's full of shit. Well, they go, you should have gotten an email about that. And Aaron Mate goes, I haven't gotten an email about this. And then he goes, well, you'll be getting it shortly. Then you didn't send it, did you? Why did you say he should have gotten an email? And then you go, well, you'll be getting it shortly. Yeah, you'll be getting it shortly because I fucking got nailed, got reamed on a phone call right now. That's why you'll be getting an email. Fucking Jesus. But so in case it was unclear, they never contacted Aaron Mate, which supposedly if you attack someone, you should contact them, which it's funny because it's this policy of journalism, yet the journalists then have no obligation to actually run your response, which is why when I was completely trashed recently by the Daily Beast, I didn't bother giving them a response because I knew they wouldn't actually print it in the article, which Danny Haifong in the article gave them a long response. Did they print it? Fucking no. They don't. They see it as this journalism requirement to contact people they're going to attack, and get their comment. Yet then they don't print the comment anyway. This guy didn't even contact Aaron Mate. Didn't even bother to contact him, and here he is on a phone call getting fucking caught for it, like getting caught for the fact that he didn't contact Aaron Mate, and he could put forward no evidence that was disinformation that Aaron Mate has covered. He didn't have any. And here's the thing. This is not about that single journalist. This is our mainstream media now. Guardian is the US, UK mainstream media. They are in the full support of just whatever US/UK empire propaganda is needed. That is their whole job. They essentially never largely go after the US or UK empire's view. Now, they might go after Donald Trump or something like that, but that is a riff in the ruling class that they're willing to do. But they will not actually critique the US empire's foreign policy or the UK empires, if you want to count us as basically the same thing, because the UK is now basically a feudal state of the US empire. Anyway, I had to play this because it's not just that they're maligning a great legitimate journalist. It's also that this is what our mainstream media is now. Even the ones, Guardian used to be considered somewhat legitimate outside of mainstream media, but they were essentially, their board was essentially captured, 6 to 8 years ago. And now this is all you get from them is this kind of garbage, this kind of trash. The updates, I actually don't need to read them. The updates that the Guardian added to the article were basically what you just saw on that phone call, that Aaron Mate denies that he puts forward any disinformation. He talks about the fact that that institute is funded by billionaires who, they are U.S. empire, leaders, ruling class leaders who they fund things that put forward U.S. empire propaganda. So why would you expect to get the truth from that strategic Institute of Strategery discussions and the such? Why would you expect to get the truth from them when that's where their fundings come from? So Guardian was kind of forced to put some of Aaron Mate's response in there, but Aaron was not contacted before the article came out. And that's another part of their strategy and it happened to me with the New York Times, by the way. The New York Times several years ago, like 2-3 years ago, did a complete trash attack piece on me, cover the art section, totally maligning me, acting like I got talking points from Russia when literally I was, when I had my show redacted tonight. By the way, I'm fully independent. For anyone who wants to know, I'm fully independent funded now. I'm funded by you at leecamp.net. That is it. That, and I will soon start a show with Mint Press, which is an independently funded outlet. I have no funding from any other outside sources. But when I was at RT, when I had the show redacted tonight, they tried, New York Times did a whole thing about how Russia's telling me to talk about things or not talk about that. No, never once. And that's why I was there. It's because never once was I told what to say. Never once was I censored. And that's why I was willing to be at that network. The moment if they had ever told me, you can't talk about this, you need to change the way you talk about this, I wouldn't have been there. Because that's not what I fucking do. That's not what I've done my whole career. That's not what I do. Anyway, but this is what they do. They put out an article, which New York Times did to me, Guardian has done to Aaron Mate. And then if a big pushback happens, which my response to the New York Times went viral. So a big pushback happens. They will then add retractions later at the bottom that no one sees. So it's not in the physical newspaper, which New York Times people still read the physical newspaper. And for the online article, almost like 90% of the readership of the online articles is in the first week. So once they add those retractions, it's over. They know that. And so it makes them look bad. They don't like doing it, but they will do it when there's a lot of pushback. And, but they know those retractions will not be read, will not be, people won't read them. So they still benefit. Hey guys, I'm about to show an awesome protest action, the smashing of windows of banks. I'm going to show you that video in 1 second, but the rest of this feed is at rumble.com/LeeCamp. If you're already there, nothing will change, but it's free to watch, rumble.com/LeeCamp. And I hope you'll come over there to see that video that I just told you about and why I support it, why I'm a big fan, why I have the big foam #1 hand for the video I'm about to show of bank window destruction. But yeah, the other feeds, the other streams will stop like coughing while you're pissing. So that is what will happen to these streams. So when you cough or sneeze and your urine stream cuts off, that's what's about to happen to these. So I hope you'll join me at rumble.com/LeeCamp. I'm also going to play one of my most recent videos, the green screen videos that are different style than what I do here. I'm going to play one of those as well because, I think not everyone's seen it. So I think you'll get a lot out of that. And it's about how the world will end in a positive way, in a funny way. Okay. Don't get too depressed. But for those of you on the other streams, Facebook, YouTube, Rockfin, all those, this will cut off in a minute, and rumble.com/LeeCamp. Join me over there. So while I do that, I will sing to you out of key. And this helps people turn off the other streams because